2020, a year the world will never forget. Devastation had struck all over the globe in the form of the COVID-19 pandemic. Fear, isolation, death, loss of employment, hunger, and a terrible uncertainty. With no sign of normalcy in the near future, held the entire world in a terrible, suffocating grip. Driven by the need to serve, Meghdutam Foundation's founding member, Miss Mohima Mukherjee, was the brains behind the massive relief drive that started in April 2020 and is still in action today, with full thrust, extending a hand of support to all in need. While everyone had kept themselves locked in their homes because of the contagious nature of the virus, founders Mr. Jaideep and Mrs. Swaguna Mukherjee had taken it upon themselves to reach out to as many people as they could. The efforts began with a distress call from the artisans of Kumartuli, the clay potters' headquarters of the world, globally acclaimed for its clay idols and statues. With a stagnation of the economy due to the national lockdown, the artisans and craftsmen were on the brink of starvation. Meghdutam Foundation sustained a continuous supply of essential items in the area for months on end. Kumartuli was followed by an extension of support to the children of around 750 odd sex workers in central Kolkata's red light area. Their mothers went out of business due to the nature of the crisis at hand. This section of the society is always kept in the shadows and looked down upon, with the children being treated as untouchables due to prevalent social stigma. This made the foundation members even more determined to reach out to these young lives who are often too young to even comprehend the social isolation.
When you think of members of the red light area, there is a very dehumanized appearance about them. You don't think of them as humans. Lockdown happened due to COVID-19 pandemic. They were one of the worst hit sections of society because of the nature of the virus. Because it's a contact profession, they could not continue with it. So Meghdutam Foundation initiative started here and along with Kumartuli, and so we are continuing our efforts here. This is around our 18th visit in this area.
Members of the Meghdutam Foundation team had procured substantial amounts of these basic protective products, PPE kits, sanitizers, masks and gloves, and distributed them to as many police officials on the roads as they could. Meghdutam Foundation had received an emergency call from an orphanage in Behala named Bodhon, which works towards looking after mentally retarded children. Another orphanage in Digha by the name Antortoy had been faced with a similar predicament caused by the aftermath of the pandemic and the lockdown. And Mr. and Mrs. Mukherjee had supported them innumerable times with a supply of essential food items.
আমরা অন্তদের পক্ষ থেকে তো খুব ধন্যবাদ জানাই যে এত বড় একটা সমস্যার সমাধান করলেন। এটা আমাদের খুব বড় কাজে লাগবে। আমরা অনেকটা টেনশন ফ্রি হয়েছি।
Meghdutam Foundation has reached out to over 150,000 lives, and the efforts are still on. But as the foundation was gradually making inroads into the forgotten sections of the society, another disaster struck Bengal, the Amphan, a catastrophic super cyclone which wreaked havoc and destruction in eastern India, demolished every area it touched. The mangrove delta region of Sundarbans that merges into the Bay of Bengal was one of the most affected areas. With COVID-19 already weakening the livelihood of these poor villages, The Amphan took away the very roof over their heads. Thousands were living without a basic shelter.
এখানে আমাদের সেই চাষ জমি সমস্ত এবছর চাষ হবে কিনা আমরা জানি না। এখানে এখনো পর্যন্ত মাঠে জল দাঁড়িয়ে আছে, 1 ফুট করে জল দাঁড়িয়ে আছে।
Amphan had taken away their homes and they were living under the sky. Meghdootam Foundation established a supply network of essential food items and provisions for constructing temporary shelters that would uplift them from the state of destitution that they were living in. The foundation had reached out to these areas as well. They started visiting different villages of the region with relief materials in the form of dry food, puffed rice, flattened rice, roasted barley, biscuits, baby food and water.
নোনা জল ঢুকে গোটা ঘরের কিচ্ছু নেই, একবারে এরকম ভেঙে এজবেস্টাসটা সব পড়ে ভেঙে গেছে, খড় টড় উড়ে চলে গেছে।
কোনোদিন আমি দেখিনি এরকম ঝড়, এই দেখলাম কেবল।
একটা ঘর ছোট ছিল, ওটা ভেঙে পড়ে গেছে, একটা পলিথিন দিয়ে চেপে আমি আছি।
Leading the way into the hearts of these crowds was the founder and secretary, Swaguna Mukherjee. She reached out to people with her own touch of empathy, established an emotional bonding with them all, and encouraged them not to lose hope in the fight for survival.
This is known as Beltoli Bazaar, which is under the Goshaba police station in the interiors of Ghat number 7 in Sundarban. So the Meghdootam Foundation team is right now over here waiting to give the food essentials required for the people who have been without any food for quite a number of days now.
Back in Kolkata, Durga Puja did not witness its usual grandeur. To combat the gloominess with some positivity, Meghdootam Foundation came up with the idea of reaching out to all underprivileged children from all over West Bengal and bringing them together to celebrate their very own little puja in a by-lane in Kolkata. With Swaguna's caring guidance, the children of various villages set out to build their own puja from scratch, painting, decorating, making the idol and conducting the ritualistic ceremonies. The children did it all while maintaining COVID-19 protocols.
মেঘদূতম ফাউন্ডেশন জানায় যে বাচ্চারা যারা এই কম্পিটিশনগুলোয় পার্টিসিপেট করছিল, যাদেরকে নিয়ে এই ত্রাণ কার্য চলছিল, তারা একটা পুজো করতে চাইছে। জয়দীপদা অর্থাৎ জয়দীপ আঙ্কেলের কাছে ওরা প্যান্ডেলের বায়না করবে এবং তখন প্রথমবার প্রবাবলি মিনিস্ট্রি অফ ট্যুরিজমের হিস্ট্রিতে প্রথমবার আমরা ডিসাইড করি যে এই ছোট্ট বাচ্চাদের পুজোটাকে আমরা আমাদের দেখো আপনার দেশ ক্যাম্পেইনের আওতায় প্রমোট করব।
On 23rd October 2020, the Honorable Governor Shri Jagdeep Dhankar, along with his wife Mrs. Sudesh Dhankar, paid homage to the humble shrine of Goddess Durga made by the children from marginalized sections of the society who were time and again supported by the Meghdootam Foundation during the hour of pandemic crisis.
The outskirts of Kolkata are home to little townships, and along these live some clusters of forgotten people, the brick manufacturing communities of Bengal. The pandemic made all construction work stagnant for months, and as a result, they had lost out on their livelihood. It was once again the sheer human touch of Mr. and Mrs. Mukherjee who won the people's hearts.
The families, you can see how distressed it is, and due to the economic slowdown, their exploitation is at its highest over here.
They see Mrs. Swaguna Mukherjee as an elder sister who cares about them as if they were her own family. As we all know, Adolescent girls are the most susceptible to exploitation and trafficking. Most often, they're seen as liabilities by their family members. Meghdootam Foundation has been reaching out to such girls and providing them with clothes, food, and monetary support. In a village called Shiuri, elderly people belonging to the tribal communities had been banished from their homes due to the family's inability to meet their needs. They were faced with starvation and were living a hand-to-mouth existence on the streets. A few people got together to start a community kitchen to support them and provide them with food. Meghdootam Foundation has decided to support this Samaritan endeavor. Education support for around 200 tribal children in the village of Shiuri.
খাতা আছে বই আছে বই আছে খাতা আছে তবে তুমি লেখো লেখো তুমি কি কি লেখো অ আ ক খ লেখো 1 2 3 1 2 3 লেখো
When the second wave of COVID-19 was snatching lives in India from April 2021, the crisis of oxygen cylinders was Herculean. During that hour of helplessness, Jaideep and Swaguna, along with its 6 frontline warriors, took up the challenge on themselves, risking their own lives to fulfill its social and humanitarian responsibilities by establishing a link with the producers of medical oxygen and reaching out with oxygen cylinders to the doorstep of COVID patients day and night, absolutely free of cost. Crisscrossing not only within Kolkata, but its outskirts in North and South 24 Parganas, even up to Birbhum district. A dedicated 24/7 helpline was set up and finally, with the tireless efforts, could save more than 160 lives.
थैंक यू मेघदूतम फाउंडेशन, आप लोगों ने 2 फ्री सिलेंडर दिया मेरे पापा के लिए, आप लोगों का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। आज वो पहले से बहुत बेटर है, आप लोग फ्री प्रोवाइड की, इसके लिए आप लोग का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
There are still too many problems that need to be talked about and solved, and millions of lives yet to be touched and helped. Meghdootam Foundation has pledged to continue this supply chain of hope and help. With whatever necessary resources they can be successful in procuring. The scars left behind by 2020 will take years to heal, and every individual should find it incumbent upon them to fulfill their social and humanitarian responsibility of taking care of one another.